Hi everyone. Again, my phone is not working very well, so as much as I wanted to tape something and then edit it, I was not able to. So here we are on Facebook Live. I'm going to put it up on YouTube pretty soon. And I wanted to share with you a little story. A friend of mine not so long ago broke up with a guy who she had been seeing for quite a while. The reason was because my friend is very honest and direct, and she really values honesty and directness, and the guy she was seeing, not so much. He was, not to say that he wasn't an honest guy, but he definitely valued not having any confrontation in the relationship, having harmony and peace between the two of them. So when they were dating, it would often be she would ask him a question and he would, answer in a way that he thought would avoid trouble, but ultimately would explode in his face because she really hated lying and she would catch him out every time. So their relationship did not last. And, without getting overly political, obviously it's a little intense politically in the country at the moment. And I've noticed that there seems to be two different ways to go about things. Way number one is to really be facts oriented, and obviously the facts depend on what side of the opinions you are on, or to kind of focus on peace and harmony and be willing to either not say anything or not comment and not engage in order to keep the peace between people. In fact, in my house, I have different opinions than my husband on politics, and we are pretty good about not really engaging in any discussion with one another. I mean, sometimes we'll keep it light or make a joke, but overall, we pretty much avoid politics in the house altogether. So that is something to keep in mind when considering the push-pull of peace and honesty. It's interesting to note that God himself lied to Abraham when it came to Sarah, because he lied by omission. He didn't want Abraham to be upset with Sarah, so he didn't tell Abraham the entire truth about something that Sarah had said. And that was considered obviously very good if God did it. And we also see between Joseph and his brothers approached Joseph after Jacob, their father, had passed away and said, our father wants us to have peace with you. Please don't take revenge on us. To which Joseph, of course, agreed, but it was clear that they were lying, and God and the Torah completely approved and endorsed it, because sometimes you do have to choose peace over honesty. So it's interesting to notice that they are not necessarily, sometimes they conflict, and you have to make a choice. I'm going to mess up the joke, but there's a comedian who makes a really funny joke about children who, he tries to teach his child that they shouldn't lie, but ultimately they realize how useful lying comes in, because as soon as you're asked, did you pull the fire alarm or did you eat all the chocolate, and you realize you're about to get into a world of trouble. So then they end up lying and saying, no, they didn't. And what do you know? Very useful. They just got out of a ton of trouble. I don't know if you like Myers-Briggs personality tests. Some do and some don't, but it is a way of categorizing a person and their tendencies. So take it with a grain of salt. But the one area where men and women tend to be a little bit different is the way they make decisions. Men tend to make decisions based on facts and the way they see honesty. And women tend to make decisions based on feelings and people and peace. So, it's interesting to see how men and women view priorities differently as well, depending on what's going on. Mr. Rogers said, I love Mr. Rogers, he said, frankly, there isn't anyone who you can't end up loving as long as you hear their story. And I think that that's entirely true. Even the most menacing of people, once you hear their background and their story, perhaps they should still have 100% of the consequences that they were going to have anyway, but it gives a little bit of space to have compassion on the person. And I'll just end with this final thought that I think speech is the number one way of messing up both peace and truth when used incorrectly, because we have a law of not being allowed to speak negatively or destructively about someone else. It's called Lashon Hara. And, Rebbetzin Tzipora Heller says something really beautiful, which is that you end up sort of creating a caricature of another person when you talk about them in a negative manner, like, oh, didn't you know she's so superficial, or he is extremely explosive, and then all you see is this person's negative traits, when really it's a much more balanced picture than that. Everybody is a much more balanced picture. So I guess, going forward, I just wish that we all should just consider the fact that peace and harmony has a place and sometimes a priority over sharing honest facts. And not to say that it should never be, and we should absolutely stay away from falsehood. Midbar Sheker Tirchak, it's definitely a Jewish idea, but we should also consider peace above all. Okay, hope everyone is well. Good night.